You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
A legend.
DJ Premier.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing?
Premier, what's happening, my brother?
I'm good. Good to be here.
Congratulations.
He's been when we did the thing on the water
event.
Yep. He was like, "Yo, we gotta get you on there. We gotta get you on there."
Breakfast Club, man.
Well, first
I
met.
so much going on.
I saw him at the Mondrian in L.A.
Mondrian in L.A.
Way back. I was waiting for my car, and you said, "I gotta get you on then."
Absolutely.
So we've been almost 3 years.
Wow, that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Premier's a legend, man. I mean,
Absolutely.
Premier's crafted some of the greatest hip hop records of all time. Worked with some of the greatest hip hop artists.
And still making hits.
Oh yeah.
You got a song with Miguel right now.
Yes. Shout out to Miguel. Things are going really good with that. It's only been out since the 21st of February, so already charting. It's already at number 23.
Nice, fun song.
Yeah, so salute to everybody that's supporting the record.
Now, let's start from the beginning. Now, how did Premier get into DJing? How did it start? What was the start of it?
Well, I was born in 5th Ward. Shout out to the Ghetto Boys, Houston. Then I moved to a town called Prairie View, real small country town, all black community where I'm from. And my mom's an art teacher. So in our household, and I have 2 older sisters, so in our household, we always had to either draw.
Right.
Everybody's into sports in my family, except for my pops. My mom's is a sports fanatic, my sisters and myself, and we all played. And my mother really, really had music popping since I could remember. Mm-hmm. So from that point, I was always fascinated with the way a record looked. It would look like a toy.
Right.
Because, the little colors and, Motown, seeing the map and the spinning around and Tamla records and that's what I remember, and my mother used to always say, "Don't you ever touch the top of that record. You hold it from the sides.
Right, absolutely.
Touch that record." And I've gotten a lot of beatings,
touching that record.
That's when you could beat your kids, and you don't have ACS picking you up for abuse, child abuse. We got our whippings, so that's really where it comes from. And then once it got to the point, my grandfather lived in Brooklyn, which is my mom's pops. My mother's from Baltimore. My father's from South Carolina. They met when they started getting jobs as teachers. Once they got to the point of where my grandfather lived in Brooklyn, I started to get fascinated with the whole New York scene because we used to always go every summer to stay with him.
Right.
Once we started staying with him, and I started seeing the B-boys and things like that, I was there for the Blackout in '77. I was there, and going back to Texas, going, yo, you won't believe what we've seen in New York because you don't see that back in Texas. You see drinking, partying, and small town stuff. So,
how old were you around this time?
What for?
When you was how old were you when you left
back
Houston?
To Texas.
19.
Wow.
19.
So I always wondered how did a brother born in Houston end up being one of the producers that shaped the sound of New York? Because Houston got its own unique sound as well.
Mm-hmm. I think being with my grandfather so much, being I was the only boy, I was very much into. He was into baseball, so I used to go to Yankee games a lot with him, and he was really into vintage cars. And he's a jazz player, so he played trombone, trumpet, and he played bass and guitar. So he used to always show us these photo albums. Rest in peace to him and his wife Rooney. He used to show us these photo albums of all the places he'd been in the world from touring, and he was in World War II. So with him, I was just so fascinated by that lifestyle. He told me, rap wasn't going to work, and this is not popping, and you're wasting your time. You need to go back to Texas. And I was like, no, you really don't know how much I know about the streets, because I was in the streets as well. Mm-hmm. So I was one of the quiet ones that could sneak around and still get into trouble and not get caught.
Right.
Probably everybody thought that though when hip hop was first starting, because they didn't know where it was going to go early on.
100%.
How did you meet Gangstar? The Guru.
Well,
and create Gangstar.
It's funny because most people, whenever people would see us together,
he's from Boston, right?
Yeah, he's from Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever people would see me either by myself, they'd be like, "Yo, Premier, what's up, man? Where's Gangstar?"
Yeah.
Or they say, "Yo, Gangstar, what's up, Premier?" So it was always, and he is Gangstar, to technically before I joined the group, but Gangstar already existed back with the originators was Big Suge's brother Suave D, and Guru. Mm-hmm. They were at Morehouse at the time, and when they got together in Morehouse, they were called the Gangsters. Mm. That's Suge named that. Then they switched it and said, you know what? that's a little too tough back then. You know, we're talking about early 80s, and then they changed to Gangstar, and that stuck. So really Suge, Suave D, and Guru are the originators of that name. Then Suge went to prison. His brother left the group, and then there was the second stage of Gangstar, which was Mike D, who was his brother's name is Gangstar T. These are all Boston guys.
Right.
Damo D-Ski, who was an MC with Guru, so now it's two MCs, but Guru wrote all the rhymes for Damo. Shout out to Damo, and then it was Guru. So then they broke up, then I joined, because Guru heard my demo when they signed the Wild Pitch Records back in 86. They heard my demo around 87, 88, because I had come back to see if I could get a deal. Nothing was popping, but I was in another group called MCs in Control from school, college rap crew. Shout out to Sugar Pop, Stylie T, and Top Ski. Got to shout. I'm walking you through the real deal.
They still gonna give it to you when they see.
Oh yeah.
Man, you shot me out.
You know, it's so crazy. I did the Prime tour 2 years ago. Shout out to Royce the 5'9", and when we did that tour, they were all making fun of my guy. No, not shout out to Keno. Keno was like Sugar Pop, Stylie T, and Top Ski, and he's like, and I said they're coming to the show. As soon as they came backstage, he's like, man, nothing's changed. Everybody that knows me as Chris. I don't care if you call me that. What's his name? That works here. I forgot his name. He went to college with me. He just saw me in the hallway.
G-Spin.
Yeah, he called me Chris, and he could do that. You know, and the people that don't know me as that, I'm always like, call me Premier. You know, but if you knew me as Chris, I don't trip. You know, so as that transpired with all of them, we made a demo together. We changed our name to ICP, which was Inner Circle Posse, but there was a reggae group called that.
Inner Circle Posse.
Yeah, which still exists. And so we would just call it ICP for short. I don't even know why we changed the name, but we did. That demo reached Wild Pitch through one of my homies, Carlos Garza from Houston, Texas. He's the one that got me a job at a record store in Houston called Soundwaves. This was the hood store that all the pimps, the players, the drug dealers, everybody came to get the top-notch music. Other stores didn't have it. Everybody goes to Soundwaves. We used to always go to the Rhinestone Wrangler, which was our tunnel back in the 80s. Jay Prince is one of the owners, so we go back to that. And, Top Ski used to beatbox for Willie D, so we were all connected like that. Then when that happened, the Guru, Wild Pitch was a husband-wife label, so no one else was involved. Guru was, besides Latif, shout to him, who's the first artist to sign, who wrote for Latifah, and he's a solo artist, and Apache is his brother, R.I.P. to him. Gangstar was the next signing after Chill Rob G. So it was three groups, Chill Rob G, Latif, and Gangstar. I heard Gangstar on Kiss with Red Alert one day, a song called Bust a Move Boy, and I thought they were called GameStop because the accent, because you're saying Gangsta.
Right.
I thought it was GameStop. The accent was heavy back then.
So they was already on when you heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, okay.
I didn't join them till the third single.
Got you.
So there were no albums yet, just 12 inches. Y'all know the era of the 80s was mainly, albums were still rare. And then from there, Guru heard my demo, and he heard Lord Finesse's demo, which was also in the box, in the shoebox. So when he heard those two, he thought we stood out the most. They wanted to sign me by myself, but I didn't want to leave my group. So I said, if you sign my group, I'll stay and sign the Wild Pitch. They didn't want to do that.
That's like Ralph Tresvant with New Edition.
Right.
Oh, really?
Well, it was in the movie.
Yeah, and I still got to watch it. I DVR'd it, so I'd rather marathon and watch all 3 episodes. Right. But from there, that's what happened. He heard the demo. We went through some pushing and pulling where I was like, nah, I don't want to leave my guys, which I stayed loyal to my guys. Eventually got to a point where they couldn't really afford to stay in New York. I stayed. My MC told me, hey, man, if nothing pops off in the next couple of months, I'm going to join the military. I thought he was just, making up some shit. He
joined the
military, and we were all staying with, shout out to the Franklin family, Gordon, Gary, Arden, R.I.P., and Marilyn Franklin. We moved, they were my classmates in Texas. They're from Brooklyn. My grandfather was sick at the time, so I started staying with them and their family, got 2 jobs, everything, just to stay afloat, still shop demos, until we had a situation since Wild Pitch didn't want to sign me with my guys.
Right.
Maybe like 4 months into it, knock on the door on a Saturday, open the door, and only me and Top are there that day. Recruiting officers at the door going, yeah, I'm looking for Theodore Campbell. I was like, for what? He said, yeah, he signed up for the military. We're coming to get him today.
Wow.
Whoa, that's
I'm
how
like,
it happens?
I yelled down the basement, yo, Top. Yo, you leaving? He comes up the stairs with his bags. Like, yeah, I told you. It's ain't working. I'm out.
Wow.
I was like, how long did you enlist? If he had said a year, I would have waited. He said, I'll enlist for 4 years.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm not waiting 4 years. Call Wild Pitch back and say, hey,
let's do this.
I'm in.
How did his life turn out?
Me and Top are still cool. We talk all the time.
He
comes to the concerts. I let him come on and rap, and he can still spin. He's a dope DJ, and he put me on the RSO way back in. We're talking about like '85 because I graduated high school in '84. So we got to really hear the pure hip hop in the earlier form. So. I'm 50, man. I'm an OG.
Did you have any reservations about working with Gang Starr because they were from Boston and you were so New York at the time?
Nah, because we were both, from another place, and we wanted to just get the main thing at that time wasn't even the money. We just wanted New York to say, yo, y'all are dope.
Right.
And at that time, everybody wanted that, from the NWAs to everybody else. Even though they repped where they were from the West Coast, you still wanted the New York acceptance.
Right.
At that time.
Do you think New York shaped y'all or y'all shaped New York? Especially being that you from Houston, he from Boston.
They shaped us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they shaped us because they showed us how to do it. And then after seeing how to do it, you want to make sure that all the people, I just wanted Melly Mel to say you were dope and Flash, and I wanted EPMD to say, yo, you're dope. And then they were like, yo, come on tour with us. And that was our first major tour, was EPMD with DJ Quick, Father MC, and Gang Starr.
Wow.
And Chubb Rock.
Yeah.
We just did something with Chubb Rock, remember?
Yeah, Chubb Rock out in was it
Alabama?
Alabama, yeah. Shout out to Chubb.
Oh, Chubb's still making 10 grand to show off.
Yeah.
What's that song?
Treat Him Right.
Yeah.
1990, and he's a National Merit Scholar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you when did you make your first beat? Did you make it in Houston or you made it in New York?
I used to make my beats at my mom's pad. Actually, Carlos used to let me borrow his SP12, which was, I'm sure you know, the SP12.
You still use it now or no?
Nah, I use MP. Still on MP. But at that time, yeah, it was SP12, the blue one, and then it graduated to the SP1200. So. I figured it out. He didn't have any instructions on it, but when you're into stuff, I used to really be into electronics even as a kid. A lot of people in my neighborhood will tell you, and my mom will tell you. She's 88 years old. She'll be like, Chris always had everybody come into the house. I'd fix TVs. I would take it apart and just figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going back to tubes.
And what was your first big record that you produced where people were like, wow?
Manifest.
Manifest?
Yeah. I remember Craig G was at Guru's house, and I'd never met a rapper, and I'm a Juice Crew junkie because Marley Marl is who I idolize production-wise for hip-hop, because he
I see Marley last week. Shout out to Marley.
Yeah, he scratched and did the beats, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to scratch, and I want to be known for ill scratches and doing the beat.
Right.
So I followed everything to his blueprint mainly, along with Howie T and Larry Smith and people like that, and Rick Rubin. So, but yeah, that's how it was. I remember, cause I went back to college. I was going to Prairie View A&M. Shout out to all the HBCU colleges, and he said, "Yeah, Craig G is here." And I was like, he said, "You want to say what's up to him?" And it was like, wow, I get to speak to a Juice Crew member.
Absolutely,
that was a big deal.
Right.
And he said, "I'm gonna do the rhyme for you over the phone," and because I'd already given him the beat. And next thing you know, Manifest popped off where I had to fly back to New York to do it. He was like, we're doing a video. We're like, we're getting a video. That was a big deal back
Absolutely.
then. 88, getting a video, and then MTV picked it up. I was like, man, we're on our way. No money, but we were on our way. We felt like that this is it. On MTV Raps, we were on Ralph McDaniels, which was I didn't even know what Video Music Box was. The kids that lived on the block when I lived in East New York and Brooklyn. That's why we always claimed East New York, because I moved to East New York. All the kids would run home. We're like, yo, we used to throw the football all the time in the middle of the street. We're like, yo, where y'all going? They said, Video Music Box.
Only had
a
half an hour.
Yeah, straight from school.
Yep.
Video Music Box. So that's when I learned about Ralph, and then Ralph had us on to introduce the video, and I was like, wow. And that became more watched for us than the MTVs and stuff, because it was that big of a deal.
When the hell did you have time to be a daycare counselor?
That was prior to getting the deal.
Okay.
During the time when before I got the deal, Young People's Day Camp, big up. all my Flatbush kids, they were rowdy, wild kids. Some of them went on to actually be successful with clothing companies, who I saw as they got older. They came to the Embo Piani Up video, and they're like, yo, and I'm like, oh, you know, like I
that
totally
must be
remember.
fun for them to be like, Premier was my.
Yeah.
You did a lot of records. Like, I just remember as a DJ growing up, we used to try to idolize and follow your cuts, your scratches, because they were easy to see on the records. Because like on the duet, you would try to do it and try to figure it out all the time. So you taught a lot of people. So now, how did you hook up with Biggie? With Big. Now you did the Gangstar stuff and you did the Wick, and now how was the Big? Because you and Big's chemistry was like no other.
I moved from East New York to the Bronx because Guru was dating a girl up there. She was going to California for a while to get to handle some business, so she said, I need somebody to sublet my apartment. So Guru was like, can we take it? So that's how I ended up meeting the NYGs, shout out to Panchi and Shabino. That's how I met the group home, with Malachi and Smiley the Ghetto Child. They were all from 183rd in the Bronx. So we moved there and stayed at her pad until she came back to New York. Once we got our deal with a major, with Stephanie Arena, and we signed a Chrysalis, got a little money, so we moved from the 3rd to Brooklyn. We moved with Brand from Marcellus because he had just gotten the job as the music director for the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. So since he was packing up to move, we lived with him, his wife, and his son. Shout out to Reese, and we lived with them for maybe 3 months before he moved, and we started renting his apartment on Washington Avenue between Lafayette and Green. Between Lafayette and Green.
All that money you was bringing in, you ain't get it home, man.
We were looking for one, but me and Gurus, we lived together in the Bronx. Now we like, hey, and it was a big brownstone, so we wanted to buy it, but we were just so foolish with our money. I mean, come on, I wasn't even 23 yet.
And y'all probably were traveling all the time anyway.
Yeah, we just started learning about touring, and that was our first major tour, was in 1990. And
who were you on tour with?
We went out with EPMD. Well, yeah, all of that was like maybe end of 90, 91. But prior to that, we were just doing European tours because we weren't really able to get tours yet in the States. European was humongous for us because of the whole jazz samples and all that stuff. We were getting major tours, major money, and it just started to just build from there. But when we moved to Washington Avenue, we used to always go by 40s, and we were all old.
40s.
Yeah, we were OE heads, and everybody knows ain't no secret Guru can drink. So we'd go on the block one day, and this is now going into 92. And this one Taking Personals out, Dwick is out, we're popping big time.
Right.
And we used to always go to the corner on Fulton and Washington to the corner store, and Biggie would be out there on the corner. And he already knew who we were. Shout to Nino, Chico, the whole Junior Mafia. We used to just hang.
D-Rock?
Yeah, D-Rock, yes. Shout to D-Rock, Gutter, everybody. So we used to go on the block, cop a 40, go to the spot on the corner to light up, stand there and just rap with him because he already knew who we were.
Right.
And he was like, yo, man, I want to get on. And we had already knew that Puff was already, looking into working with him because he already had he was working at Uptown with the MCA deal prior to Bad Boy. And then as things started to trickle down and Puff started coming around the way to get Biggie was like, yo, I'm going with Puff to do a demo. And next thing you knew, he was on the Who's the Man soundtrack. And once that happened with Easy Mo B, and Easy Mo B used to always come to our house, hang. The RZA used to come to our house and hang. Cypress Hill, before the album even dropped, used to come to our house. The Jizza, we heard many records. I remember when the RZA told us they were going to start Wu-Tang Clan. They said, I'm getting all these MCs from different boroughs and people I went to school with, this, that, and the third. And, shout to Master Killer because he grew up with J. Rue the Damager, and everybody knew each other, So Out Loud from Blase Blase, we all hung.
You knew Biggie was nice. Was Biggie nice then? Did you know he was going to be as special as he turned out to be?
Not yet, because honestly, I got to give Mr. C the credit, man. And Mr. C lived down the block from us, and he used to always really annoy me about Biggie Smalls. I'm like, I'm going to listen to it. He used to give me these cassettes. I just would never listen to it. We were kind of active where I was kind of like, all right. And he'd see me again, and C would be like, yo, Biggie Smalls. That's why, he does deserve a lot of credit for Big. And he kept pushing it. One day I finally heard the demo, and then we met Big. So once we met him, that's when he wasn't laid back then. He was the hyper voice.
Was that Party and Bullshit time or before
This
that?
is before.
Wow.
Yeah, this is before.
It's the 20th anniversary of Big's death, so this is an interesting comment because there's two stories that I always wanted to ask you about. J. Rue the Damager used to do a lot of work with him, but he used to come at like Big. So did that affect you and Big's relationship?
It affected us. We had a crazy session. Basically, what happened was we did a record called One Day on the Wrath of the Math album. That's the second album because him and Big, all of us used to hang on a regular. When we did Wrath of the Math, we were recording the album and we did a song. I did a beat and he was like, "Yo, I want to talk about how I see hip hop right now, my vision of it, and it's gonna be almost like something that happened just in a day." So he wrote it in that way, and I remember when he did it, one of the homies in our crew was like, "I know you ain't putting that out, right?" He thought maybe just doing this to bug out, just our own little thing. It was like, "Nah, man, I ain't afraid to put this out. Let's put it out."
But you know that all the Big Willie talk.
Yeah, no. Playing yourself was misconstrued. We had the same sample as the Players Anthem. Clark and them and Junior Mafia beat us to it. I'm a beat maker. We're competing. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna flip it backwards because One Day came out first. The drama with all the stuff with the Big and J. Rue thing. One Day came first. Playing Yourself came afterwards, so it made it look like y'all really going at these dudes, but it had nothing to do with them. It's just I said I'm gonna flip it backwards and play it a funkier way, and then boom, there's a record.
What was the first record you did for Big?
No, did y'all have fallout, you and Big, because of that?
We had a heated discussion. The main discussion really was with Puff and J. Rue, and they had the discussion on the phone. This is the illest part is Puff called the label, and because we were on Payday, and that was my manager's label. He called the label, and this is a big deal back then in '95, '96. He said, "Here's my house phone. Here's my car phone. Here's my boat phone." And then we like, damn, he got a boat phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the willingness was way beyond what anybody else was doing. That's why I always say, yo, but you got to give Puff his. He was beyond everybody when it came to the newest stuff, the style, everything. You got to tip your hat and hate him or love him.
So they eventually squashed it?
It's squashed. How would you say? We've grown out of it. Gotcha. I don't think they've seen each other since. Me and Puff have. I've seen Gutter and all of them and D-Rock. Everything was all love. I pretty much was the middle guy that could diffuse anything because I've been a frontline man from day one, still am. When in any drama, even from Guru on down, if there was something going on that had to be handled, I was always frontline. And anybody that knows me will tell you the same thing. So when it came to that, jabs were thrown lyrically, but it never got to the violent situation because if it did, I'm sure the whole hip hop community would have known about that. And that didn't happen.
The other big story I wanted to ask you about, I read it in Angie Martinez's book. You did 10 Crack Commandments as a promo for Angie, the instrumental.
Yep.
And Big heard it.
Yeah. No, Puff heard it. Actually, what happened was, back at that time, Angie was like the person.
Absolutely.
New
York radio.
The person.
The Battle of the Beats.
Yeah, and everybody was doing dope promos for her where it's like, dang, this should be a record, now. So from there, we did one because J. Rue was popping at the time. So
Come Clean,
Can't Stop the Profit, the bitches, all that stuff. So when we did that, Puff came up there and heard the she just happened to play the promo. She had played it many other times, but she happened to play the promo that particular day that Puff came up there. When Puff came up there and heard it, I got a beep. We had beepers then.
Back then.
Yeah, I got a beep. Shout out to my man Danny, and he's going, "Yo, Puffy's telling you to call him on Hot 97 on another station."
You can say it's history.
Puffy's telling you call him on Hot 97. I'm like, for real? And, at that time, that's not. Cell phones are just on.
Was he on his boat phone or which phone?
Nah,
he
was at the station, so no boat phone. He's probably on the helicopter phone by then. But I'm like, word? He said, turn on the radio, and I'm driving at the time, so I turn on the radio, and don't hear nothing. I'm hearing the interview, but nothing like Preem call me, and other people are beeping me too. Yo, you hear Puff? He's talking about calling him. I'm like, yo, I'm listening. He's not saying nothing. He's just talking to Angie. All of a sudden he goes, Primo, if you're out there, please call me. People like us get the warm line. I have y'all's as well.
Right.
And call the warm line. Puff gets on the phone. He's like, yo, I need that beat. And I'm like, well, that's me and J. Rue, and, y'all ain't cool. And he's like, well, listen, see if he's down to let that go. He said, I'll throw the money over XYZ. I called Rue, and this is what I like about J. Rue. J. Rue was like, yo, man, that's hip-hop. Let it go.
And that was the first one that you produced with Big?
No, Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was
the first.
Unbelievable was the first
Unbelievable was the first, and then Kicking the Door, and then 10 Crack Commandments, and then after he passed on the Born Again album, I did Rap Phenomenon with Meth and Red.
So I'm thinking the Hove and Nas connections came because of the work with Big?
Nah, because I worked with Nas first. Yeah, I worked with Nas.
Oh, yeah, on them. Yeah. What I'm thinking. Yeah.
I worked with Nas first. I had met Nas. Eric B. and Rakim used to do an Easter jam at Apollo, so to be invited by them, I remember Yo-Yo was the host, you know what I'm saying, and just to be on that bill was like a big deal. I used to go to all the Cool G rap sessions when they were doing Wanna Did a Lot with Lost Professor. I got to witness all that stuff, seeing Eric B. walking with the big chains, and I was like, wow, I'm around all this stuff.
And how'd you hook up with Hove?
I knew Jay way back because Jazz was a label mate with us on EMI. But even before we signed to Chrysalis, we used to see Jay. I used to see Jay with Kane. I used to see him with Jazzo, and we were all. And then at that time, I'm in the same neighborhood. But Jay, I remember we there was a club called Mars. I don't know if y'all remember that in the Meatpacking District. It was an underground hip hop club. And I remember one day Jay walked in with the anchor. You know, big old chain, and you know, it just looked like they were getting money back then. This is '89,
right?
So when he walked in, you know, back then everybody's profiling to be tough, including myself. So it was just a mutual what's up all the time. You know, he knew who Gangstar was, and again, we were always in Brooklyn and seen by so many people,
right?
You know, from going, you know, I told you any bodega in Brooklyn, from Crown Heights to East New York to Fort Greene. Anywhere, and we all lived around each other at that time. Me, Chubb Rock, Lady of Rage with Nikki D. We were all around each other.
in New York?
Yeah. That's how I met her. You know, she had the Def Jam jacket. I remember I said, man, somebody gonna rob you for that Def Jam jacket. She goes, no, they're not. and Nikki D said, exactly, no, they're not. I'm like,
okay.
You're right.
What happened with you and Jay's? Did you and Jay's relationship ever go bad? Because when Jay dropped an album, he always had a primo record on there. And then all of a sudden it just disappeared. So I thought maybe they had a bad relationship or falling out or something.
We had a couple fallouts that were minor, but I'm a guy that if I feel like I got to distance myself for certain reasons, I do it. The other times was just, you know, Jay wants it done now. If it's not ready, he's moving on without you, which I got to respect that. He's moving on. But there were 2 or 3 situations.
So he called you, asked you for a beat, and you was like, I'm on tour. And you was like,
No, it wasn't any response. It was just, whenever we see each other, for some reason, man, we would just always be like, yo, let's holler. And it'd be good. It'd be cool again.
Every album there was a
cool
primo.
So Ghetto is one of my favorite records of all time.
Same thing. Hey, I give you a good one. The Black Album was supposed to just be me and him.
Really?
Yeah. What? Yeah. He called me one day and said, yo, I'm doing the Black Album, this thing in the Black Album, and I want you to do whatever you can to just not do anything for like 2 weeks, and we just lock in and do it. I was like, I'm down. And it just never surfaced. He went on to do the Dynasty album. Then he did another album, and then he went to the Black Album. But I was on tour at the time, so I couldn't get in to do the track because I was like, overseas. But that was supposed to be our project.
So you didn't get no work in on the Black Album at all?
Nah, that's when Ninth Wonder started to come in, and he did the Threats record, which is, you know, it kind of has a preem bounce to it.
A lot of preem.
Shout to Ninth, you know. Yeah, that's the homie right there.
So other than Guru, who would you say you had the best relationship with?
Damn, that would have been
artists?
an album, boy.
Out of all the artists, Guru and I had the most weird relationship because we fought a lot, but then we loved each other a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my dude. Like, we could fight, fist fight, everything, bloody lip, and then go in the studio and make a banger.
That's crazy.
And, you know, and a lot of people can't do that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not the only group that has had fights.
Right.
But we could do that, and then it's back to just love, fight, love. But the music still stayed hot.
What would lead y'all to blows?
Other than Guru, who would you say?
With a working relationship?
Yeah, like who, or just relationship in general. Like, who was your?
Big was just fun in the lab because he's just hilarious, and he's not there to be hilarious. He's just naturally that funny. You know, so you're there laughing. That's when Bacardi Limon was like a big deal. And he used to have all the Bacardi Limon bottles and Moet bottles lined up. I mean, and you know, and he was always he's so hospitable. You know, like he's very much a host. You know, so Those are the fun times.
What would lead you and Guru to actually fist fight?
Everything, man. I mean, from the drinking to just any basic shit.
What about like disagreeing over songs? Like, nah,
the songs we always clicked all the time.
I think maybe because I'm a woman, X
Right.
to the Next was always my favorite.
Yeah, and you know what? Every video that he had the girl in was always the girl he was with at that time. When we did Love Sick, we did Love Sick, that was his girlfriend in the video. When we did X to the Next and the girl in the tub, that was his girl and his ex-wife.
Damn.
You know, so that
You got to look at that later.
His timeline and our music.
everything is very, 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 very matched to what our career is, and still, you know, it stands to be now. You know, so it's a crazy history we got.
When did they bring Nas to you?
I met him at the Apollo thing that I told you that Eric B and Rakim did, and because Main Source opened up before us, and I used to hang out with Large Professor Pete, Showbiz. You know, I met Showbiz through Lord Finesse, and we used to always go. I used to hang out with Large Professor. He used to come to the Bronx. This is when I was still in the Bronx. This is before stepping in the arena, and he used to hang out with us. And next thing you know, he's like, "Yo, you know, Large Professor is so New York," and he's like, yo, you know, like, word, like, yo, I got this dude named the rapper Nas, because he was the rapper Nas, at least from the way I'm used to Large Professor saying it. And a lot of Queens people used to call themselves the rapper something, like the rapper Noid, you know. So,
right. The rapper Big Noid,
yeah, but he's like, yo, I got this dude named the rapper Nas. He even says it in one of his lyrics on the Main Source album, he said, like, the rapper Nas, you know. So it was him. He told me about Akinelli, and I knew who Rob Swift was already, who was his DJ. So he was like, I want you to check out this joint. We did and Posse Cuts was a new thing after the Symphony came out. You know, once the Symphony came, everybody started having features. That was very rare to have features.
Right.
We heard that one, and you know, everybody's blown away hearing them lyrics.
I went to hell for punching Jesus.
No one was saying that.
So you wanted to work, like, yo, bring this kid in.
Automatically. And I remember I was there at Columbia when Big L and Nas were in the conference room signing their contracts.
Wow.
Because they were the first two, you know, street MCs to get signed to Columbia.
That's crazy. You couldn't say that now. I'm waving automatic guns and none of that. Imagine saying that.
Yeah. Look at Devil's Son with Big L. That was psycho.
Right.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that. Get away with that now for anything.
Being that you worked with all three, who's the best MC? Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas?
Man.
Biggie's the most fun, you said.
Yeah.
Just the best. Like,
Man.
Jay said it.
Well, it's just like the comparison to Pac and Big. You can't put them in the same boat, even though they're both great.
You know what I'm saying? I just like all three of them, you know. And that's not even to say I don't want to pick who's better. It's just you like them all three for different reasons.
Right.
You know? Nas is the project, just hood kid with the lyrics. Jay made all the hustlers, everybody that's just really on a super grind on another level. He just spoke to them. You know, that's what I loved about Jay. Still love about him. He knows how to talk hustler lyrics. You know, he's just great at it. And Big is just a combination of everything. You know, and he didn't write. You know, I saw recently somebody said they saw Biggie write. I don't know who it was. It's just a couple days ago saying they saw Biggie write lyrics. He had a pad when we did Unbelievable. He's just doing this, making funny little figures. And then we're there for almost 8 hours. And I'm like, yo, dude, I'm ready to go home. You want to just come back tomorrow? And he's like, oh, no, I'm ready. I'm like, you ready? He's like, yeah. Goes in there live from Bedford.
Really?
Yep.
And sometimes it's hard because you can't even figure out what Biggie could have evolved into as an artist, too.
Him, Big L.
Because he was so young.
Big L would have been a problem. Big would have still been a problem. Pac would have still been a problem. I think it would be harder for the artists that are not too lyrical to even get into the door if they were still around.
But he said Jay didn't write either, though.
I didn't see Jay write either.
Yeah.
No, never witnessed it.
What do you think about the battle recently between Sis Beatz and Just Blaze?
Swiss texted me. I have a radio show, which you know, on Sirius XM every Friday from 10 to midnight. It's live from headquarters, and I was literally on my way to get. I like to be there by 9 to set up. Swiss is texting me going, yo, I still got the text on my phone. He's like, yo, me and Just Blaze about to have a battle. I need you over here. And I was like, man, I got my radio show. And he's like, damn, you know. And I was like, otherwise I'd be there. So while we're at the station, I'm live. You know, when I throw a record on that has a little good 3 minutes, after cutting it up, I'm hitting it live and watching it, doing this. And shout to my man DJ Rectangle. He was in town spinning. I even went to the spot he was spinning at in Midtown after I got off the air, and it's loud in the club, and I'm sitting there doing this, but you also want to watch it.
Right,
so
right,
you're
right.
doing this, and so.
Would you do one? Because
Him and
I
P-Rock.
P-Rock
We got,
do it.
yeah, me and P-Rock been doing
They've
the
been
battle
doing
for
it.
They did do it
almost
for a while.
how
yeah.
long, Keith? But
3-4 years.
yeah,
Who got the most wins?
we never really pick a winner. We just because he'll play all of my stuff.
Right.
And then I'll play all of his stuff. Then I'll be like, yo, Pete, you know, and I'm not having that. You know what? Dun, 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 and the creator beat comes on. I make him go out in the front and do the rhyme. The crowd goes crazy, you know. So
That's probably part of why Swizz hit you, because he knows you and Pete been doing that for years.
yeah, but I'll battle anybody.
I see Just Blaze. He went to Havoc's house. It was like you next. Like you know, I would love to see you do it. Though.
I'll battle anybody. I mean, if they really want to go, I'm down.
You got some. You got
Anybody.
records.
Oh, yeah,
You got some
anybody.
records.
Anybody.
When did you realize the culture had shifted production wise?
Probably around the time, and it's not a distance.
To Puff or anything, but when the Bad Boy movement started to come out, the radio play started to sound different when it came to mix show and stuff like that. And we weren't opposed to it, because we bump all of that stuff too. But don't start cutting down on the way the grimy dirty when the city is New York. Like this is.
Everybody we talk to from out of town, especially me being an out of towner, they always say, "Yo, man, why when I come to New York, I hear the same stuff that I hear at the pad? We used to come to New York and hear joints we
Different
never
new
heard
stuff,
of,
yeah,
and you know, and we look for that, and it's like, you know, that's what I provide on my show. I still only bring new underground stuff to get, and I create the soundscape of the buzz that I think sounds like what I remember from when I got on, and that's what I follow.
Who do you like now?
now.
That's new.
I mean, I love the Migos record. I mean, Bad and Bougie is my joint. And then I have a 5-year-old son, and I also have my nephew's 22. My other niece is 23. You know, I have a 19-year-old niece that just moved here to go to college for fashion, and then they're into this generation. So I keep up with what they like. And as a DJ, Envy, you know, we got to keep up with what's popping. Hate it or love it, you got to keep up with it.
You got to play that record even if you don't
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, I do a
'cause
lot of
everybody
parties
else
for the
likes
celebrities, and they're not going to want to hear, you
Group
know,
home.
exactly, exactly. So, Superstar got to be on hold until I
do the block party in the hood.
Do you think New York needs a signature sound now?
Absolutely. That should always stay. That's what I represent all the time. That's why I could do the styles that's out now, like with Metro Boomin and, you know, with the Boy Wonders and people like that do, and Mike Will and all these guys, and big up to them. I love what they do. I just don't want to ever do that style, because that's what they got on lock for their generation. You know, their slang is spitting. Their slang is, you know, they say it's lit. I don't say it's lit.
You don't?
You know,
It's
nah.
not a lituation.
I do it to joke around, just
Right.
to be funny, but I still say hype, fresh. I'm lamping. You know, yeah.
Who's on your Mount Rushmore of producers?
Marley Marl, Rick Rubin, let's see, Marley Marl, Rick Rubin, Bomb Squad, Dre. Man, how many people's on Mount Rushmore? 4 or 5?
4.
Man, you make it 10.
Go ahead, yeah.
Mount 10 more. Definitely Pete, Large Professor, Showbiz, Knots, Havoc. Havoc, I'm a big fan.
No
What about
RZA?
RZA?
Oh yeah, RZA, Q-Tip.
Oh yeah. Cute.
Yeah, me and RZA used to battle. Cream
Yep.
was a battle against me
Really?
when me and Jay Ruth the Damager did the original. He saw me in L.A. and was like, "Yo, you think you got that piano shit on lock?" He said, "I got a piano joint that's gonna kill you called Cream." I said, "All right, bring it."
He brought it.
Cash
That was
rules,
hard.
everything. I was like,
So really, nobody better to score the breaks than DJ Premier.
Shout out to Dan Charnas, who used to work at Profile and work with Rick Rubin at American Records. He was there, you know what I'm saying? And he said as soon as he got the green light to do it, he immediately said, "I'm the one to do it." So I appreciate that, the fact that he hit me up to be a part of it. And the music matches it's set only in 1990. Anything past 1990, we couldn't even put into the. I remember we had Reminiscing there. He's like, "Nope." I'm like, "Why not? It goes with the scene." That's 90. That's not 90. I was like,
I'm not gonna lie, because when I do watch it, I do pay attention to all of that. I be like, that song wasn't out.
Yeah.
Like we do pay
Yeah,
attention to that.
Anything prior, like
80s hip hop, we can
can
put
do
in
that.
there because you know there were jams that you were bumping, but anything past 90 we can't use.
Wow.
Unless it goes into another series, maybe, whatever.
I feel like it's been a resurgence in like '90s culture. Like even
up
kids
and
love
down. I think
'90s
it's up and
culture.
down.
Even the way you dress. You see the kids now that's wearing skinny jeans got some shell toes on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't look right, but but they got on shells. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, you got.
But not
shells
even
on.
just the '90s. I feel like everybody's feeling just feeling nostalgic about just kind of like even when you watch The Get Down, and that's about how hip hop started. Did you watch that on Netflix also? And then now we have The Breaks also, which is after that. We have the New Edition movie. All of those things. It's just fun for people, and I feel like a lot of artists also are like using those beats from back then too.
Yeah, 100%. It's just the approach is different from the way we do it. But as I always say, I don't think I have to stray away from the style that I do just because the sound has changed. Because thank goodness for the internet. For me, when I saw what the internet could do, it was like, man, my audience can now. I could put the word out and say, hey, I got a store, I got this, I got that, follow me, check out my stuff. Here's my link. And all of a sudden, the cash register starts going off.
Do these young kids hit you up now? Like any of these newer, younger artists? Like, I need
Some do. Lil Uzi Vert hit me up. You know what I'm saying? Especially after the confusion with thinking he's hating on me with the freestyle that they wanted him to do over the other station and everything. And the fact that he hit me up first was dope because what he said to me in the DM was just official, where it's like, damn, man, you know what? We could probably work together. And I told him it would have to be a conversation first. We would have to talk about what it would take in order to make it come off where my fans ain't angry and where it works for both of us. Yeah.
Even when people talk about like the sound in New York, of course, everybody always mentions the Wu-Tangs and the Nas. Like those groups, the guys like J. Rudy Damage and groups like Group Home, they contributed a lot to the sound too.
M.O.P. All of them.
What happened to those guys like J. Rudy?
Dap is good. Dap just called me 2 days ago. We actually did a couple of shows the year before last in Europe. Malachi was incarcerated for a minute, but he's home. Shout out to Malachi the Nutcracker. J. Rue lives in Germany now. He's a promoter, so he's promoting.
Wow.
J. Rue was the one out of the whole crew, and Suge, that learned how to survive and make it through. Suge's been in in a few movies. He just did what's the Black Mass. He's in that. What's the one with from Curb Your Enthusiasm? Larry David. And when you audition for Larry David, Suge is one of the most funniest guys in the world. I don't care who you are. If you snap, Suge will eat you up. It doesn't matter who it is. I've seen him destroy people. Him and Biz went at it. Suge is nasty with the snaps. And I remember with Larry David, the audition ain't just read at each other. And Larry David just gives you a scenario, and you got to make it work.
Improv.
And he told him about. He said the scenario was where his old lady was reportedly blowing a whole bunch of dudes from the group Chicago, and he's like, and he wants to get backstage. What will it take? He said, if I look like you. He said something to that effect, like saying how ugly he is. I see why she's doing the guys. And he said Larry looked at him like damn, through another scenario, and Suge kept bombing him. They're like, you got the job.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So he gets it. He understands how to extend his career. We're all still connected. Same thing with J. Rue. He knows how to live and expand it. So he's doing well. We've done a lot of shows together last year before. So everybody's good.
And you got your label To The Top, right?
Yeah, we have two labels. I have Year Round Records, which has been out since 2004, which is just my street label. I only put out straight gutter, the way we want. I don't care how old or young you are. If it's dope to me, we're putting it out. To The Top is a label I started with my manager. Shout out to Ian Schwartzman. We started this label to house anything outside of my gutter stuff so that it stays in that lane. And we signed a singer-songwriter from Long Island named Tori Wolf. And then I can just put out just singles, just put out whatever. So me and Miguel had worked on the Wild Heart album, and he just started playing these guitar licks, and I just started tapping the drum live and said, yo, keep playing like that for like 5 minutes and just play all these licks. I didn't even know if Miguel could play a guitar, you know what I'm saying? And next thing you know, I was like, yo, that's good. Let me take that, programmed it. He sits at a desk like this with a mic and just records himself at a desk, doing his own Pro Tools. Wow. I was like, wow. And he's standing up, screaming and all that, and I'm just watching how he does it. song is done, but it never got to the process of where we got to put it out through RCA. His album came out, and he did a version with his band that was kind of a little more of a metal-y type sound and metallic type sound. And I was like, man, we should have run with the version we got. I still want to put it out. We approached Gooch, who's Mark Pitts, who was Biggie's manager, and he handles, Chris Brown and Usher and Miguel. And I reached out to Gooch, and he was like, yo, we're down to let y'all put it out. And shout to RCA and everybody. They were like, no problem. You want it. You own the record. And they gave us a video. The video's going to be coming out in about a week.
That's
So,
good. And what I love about that song is it's very natural. It don't sound like anybody was out of there. We
just did it just to bug out and
not,
see if we could gel. If I can't gel with an artist, I never let the record come out.
Now, before you get up out of here, you crossed over for a little bit, and you started with Christina Aguilera. How did that come about, and what was that called?
Yeah, you never put yourself in a box.
No, I give that. Well, I'm from all types of music, but I'm before rap, So in my household, we had the Eagles, we had Black Sabbath and Rush and AC/DC, but then we had Aretha, we had Luther. We had Grover Washington, Count Basie, all that was in the house. My mother really is a heavy vinyl collector. So all that music, especially the 80s, that's when Prince came out. I remember when Prince came out in like 78, and my sister bought the album, when Soft and Wet came out, and next thing you know, he just kept elevating. I became a Prince fanatic, and I started following like what he does or what Michael Jackson did, and I was into a lot of new wave music. I was really into that culture. I was into punk rock music, doing the slam dancing way early. I was very getting the aggression out. Just elbowing people, and they like it too. So I'm like, yo, I can elbow you in the face, and you're like, yeah,
MOP concert.
yeah, exactly. So when it got to that point, I've just been that much into all types of music. So when it came to being a producer, I didn't want to just do hip hop only. But when I do hip hop, it's got to be gutter.
Right.
That's what I like to bump. And I always say I make stuff that I would buy, and I still do that. That's why it stays in that lane. But with Christina, she heard the Group Home album. That's why I had to look your way.
Christina Aguilera.
Yeah, I gotta give it to her ex-husband. Shout to Jordy. He put her on to it, but she liked it. Yeah, shout to Jordy. He put on to Group Home.
That's crazy.
And
Living Proof.
Yeah, to Gangstar and a few other things that I had done. And they called and said, would you like to come out to L.A. and sit with us and see if we could vibe? Well, she hadn't even gotten married yet. Next thing you know, I was supposed to do one song, and we did a song called Back in the Day, just to see if we could vibe. Came out good. She ended up saying, why don't you stay and let's do another one? And that turned into 5 songs. Ain't No Other Man was like the last one before I was about to leave. It got to a point where the break was playing when she walked in, and she's the type that'll go, yo, what's that? As soon as she walks in, if it grabs her like that, she's totally into it. And one thing I got to witness her, she really can sing.
Right.
Like I got to witness her in the booth. She's very hard on herself. She really wants it right and accurate. If it's not right and accurate, she's like, let's do it again. Like she's got to nail it. And next thing you know, we got a Grammy for the single.
Nice.
Right.
And it worked. But y'all didn't do a lot of work together after that.
We're working on a new album. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
we haven't recorded yet, but she's got tracks that she says she definitely wants to use.
Yeah, she don't get the appreciation for being a great vocalist, but she's an amazing vocalist.
When she did the James Brown tribute at the Grammys, she destroyed everybody. And at the time, it was supposed to be either Beyonce, Mariah Carey, or Christina that they wanted to consider. And when they asked me who should they get, I said, get Christina. And they were like, you think she can pull it off? I said, she will kill it because she studies and she nailed it. I mean, you can YouTube it. She destroyed that It's a Man's World. Like, she really, really destroyed it. And I remember she called me right after she finished it because I was in Arizona. She goes, yo, did I kill it? I said, you shitted, pissed, and vomited on everybody. And she goes, whoa, I love you. And she hung up.
When can we expect that album?
I don't know. She's just in the beginning stages, but yeah, she got tracks she said she wants to keep. So that's a good thing.
Last time I spoke to you, you said another Gangsta album will be coming.
We have music that's in the vault, but we're still going through situations that have to allow that to happen. The estate and everything's intact. Shout to everybody involved with the estate. His son, we've been making sure he's straight.
We have Gangstar Enterprises, so we sell all the merch and things like that. So, half of that goes to his son, and his son's doing real well. As we should. Karma's a motherfucker. So
Absolutely.
I'm making sure that his family. Shout out to Lana. Everybody's good. His family's good. Shout out to Trish. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Jossie. Yeah. So, but when things line up right, then that could be a discussion. But until then, everything's on hold.
Right.
Until then, listen to that Greatest Hits album.
Full clip, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I remember when the label approached us, we were like, we don't want to be a Greatest Hits.
It was good,
because we feel like that's saying we're too old and we're done. And that's when Guru was like, yo, why don't we name it something else? Guru's very good at titles, and that's how we used to do everything. He used to title, give me a list of titles, and then I just make the tracks and match the title of the songs.
Oh.
So that's how I've always done it. He gives me a list, we put it on the wall, and he'll put, Casey and JoJo, Royalty, our second single. You Know My Steez, our first joint for the streets. That's he'll Above the Clouds with Inspector Deck, hopefully, and he'll put About Your Mental and just little stuff like that. I remember when Deck called and said, yo, so what's the song about? And
we have a title already.
And Guru goes, About Your Mental. He said, that's it? He goes, yeah. He goes, got it. Came that day. Yeah, see, you're on opposite sides. This is the board. The Guru's sitting here writing. You're Inspector Deck writing. And they kept doing this and going, how much more you got? He's like, I'm almost done. He said, me too. They go back to writing. How much more you got? I'm almost done. Me too. Yo, I got mine. You
think most artists still work like that in the studio?
Some do. Yeah, some do. I remember I was in a session with Troy Ave and Wale, and we never finished it, but they were like that, just back and forth, just coming up with ideas, just freestyling and writing it down, and we cut vocals, but it just never got to the point where we finished.
Yeah, it's just so different. I'll send you the track with the thing, and then you send it back.
Yeah, that still happens too. That's I'm not used to that way, because when we were coming up in the labels were like, here's a bunch of money. Yep. And they would say, go out and take them to dinner and, do some stuff.
Go to Miami, record your
album.
And
just they trusted us and just said, just bring the record back. You know what I'm saying? But, this is going to be a very busy year for me. As I said, year-round records is going to be – I have 4 projects that are coming out soon. We're doing another Prime 2 with Royce 5'9".
Okay.
We're almost done with that. Shout out to Royce. It's another dope album. This is the NYGs. They like I said, I met Panchi and Shaw when I moved to the Bronx with Guru. So this is gonna be their second album. I'm producing the whole thing, and also me and MC8 did a project called Which Way Is West that I'm executive producing.
Wow.
Which Way Is West is done. We're about to put out the first video, which actually features Dub C. And his brother Crazy Tunes, who just passed away in January 9th. So he's in the video, so it's really the last footage that we even got of him, because he died right after. Wow. This is 4 days before Christmas when we shot it, so we're about to release that in a couple of weeks. So we're real busy. Tory Wolf's is going to be dropping on TTT, and I got to get y'all some hats and some shirts and everything, too. I'll get y'all sizes and take care of y'all. Get your Gangstar stuff, too. And then Prime 2, did I leave out anything, Keith? Oh, and I have a band called the Batter Band.
The Batter.
We're about to do a tour, and we're gonna drop an EP where pretty much I come up with the beats and everything, and they will just replay them, and then we play all of my classics live. We have a really tight set. Our show is amazing. Dope. So it's a lot going on.
I always feel like hip hop needed more bands, because it's like it's the roots and then nobody else.
It's
like
just
the
Internet's
out there a little bit.
And Sonic, the first hip hop.
That's a Sonic.
Yeah.
Dope.
We appreciate you for joining us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Anytime.
Lesson. I love
Absolutely.
it.
I love,
we can go and go.
These stories.
Primo, DJ Premier. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
The Breakfast Club. Every weekday morning. Tune in